Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. We're going to get going in about 11 minutes. What do people think of the new thumbnail design? I've got a feeling it looks like I'm always, or like I'm supporting or part of the team that's on the right, and the co-host will be part of the team that's on the left, which, you know, usually isn't the case. So Brady, so you're still pushing that. Good to see you, man. Looks like we've got bright red chat color today. Right, let me see if I can find Darryl. Get Darryl to come on and do a bit of sound checking. Talk to you in a few minutes. What's up, Max, in the chat? Yeah, viewers are welcome, if not encouraged, to go shirtless this Friday. I've made contact with Darryl. He's just hopping on Discord now. What's up, Joe Malmstein? Good to see you. All right, everybody, we are going to go live in a couple of minutes. We've got Darryl in the chat. Hey, Darryl.
Hey, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
Excellent. It's a really beautiful day out here in DC.
Cool. Okay, I'm putting just adjusting your volumes, or our volumes rather. Say a couple more words.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited today. I mean, reliving. It's almost been a year. I got to see exactly when this happened, but it might almost be a year since I went over to Germany and was at this tournament. So this is exciting. Yeah,
I guess it has been about a year. Yeah, I'm quite excited about it. I was working on the cameras in this tournament. Anyway, I'll just turn off the mics for a sec, and we'll go live in about 1 minute. Probably see you guys in about 1 minute. Okay, I've fiddled with actually Darryl has fiddled with his gain, so I'm just touching mine now as well. Gain goes down. Darryl, can you say a few words?
Yeah, this is me with the new gain levels, talking at a pretty normal volume at a comfortable distance, so hopefully this sounds better.
Alright, that sounds great to me. How does that sound to the viewers, or the listeners at the moment? How does that sound? Darryl,
Reed Foreman. Oh man, Reed. I've coached him. Jason Thompson says it's pretty good. Sounds better, they say.
Okay, brilliant, awesome. Thank you. All right, we've got the inverse swagster, the Foreman grill, and Reed Foreman is someone you coach. Darryl, you know Reed?
I do. I coached Reed on Citywide 2016. Poor guy. I think he broke his forearm that year, if I remember correctly. Or his clavicle. I'm trying to remember which, but yeah, I never got a chance to get the full Reed experience. He was in dynamite during tryouts, and then he was injured. So
I've got a cat rolling around in my mouse. But oh, there we go. She knew to move. Okay. Right. I think we're good. I'm just going to turn the Liam Grant's got his binoculars ready to go.
Yeah.
Right, I'm gonna go straight live from here, get the video up live, so all those people who fast forward to the point where the video changes will...
Can't see the stream again on Discord.
I heard it close actually in the background. It's possible that if this doesn't work, if it goes bad again...
I will have to live with YouTube. Yeah,
just the 2 or 3 second delay, unfortunately.
Noted.
Okay, I'll put it back up for you. Alright. Down. Okay, who's the most fake mobile recent?
There's this internal player roles that I have 50 named types of players in the sport, so that's one of them.
Okay, we'll go live and maybe you can chat about that.
We'll do.
Okay. Right, here we go. Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. I am Felix from Felix Ultimate. I'm joined today by somebody who is the coach of DC Breeze, coach of Truck Stop. After a conversation with him actually in DC, I was inspired to make the hex movement decision tree, and he's Diamond 2 rank, I believe, in Rocket League. It's Darryl Stanley. How are you doing, Darryl?
I'm pretty good, man. I'm pretty good. Thanks for shouting out my Rocket League rank. I feel pretty good about that. It's nice and new, so...
Yeah. Well, I had Brian on a couple of weeks ago, and he's towards the top end of Platinum. So I'd quite like to see a match between you guys.
It was supposed to actually happen this week.
Really?
Yeah. The Empire was supposed to play the Breeze, but we took a pause due to the world events. So.
Yeah, those world events have been pretty. I don't know. How do you describe them? It's like.
Yeah,
you could feel the world changing beneath your feet.
100%. I mean, I was particularly affected emotionally by it. I've got friends and family in Philadelphia, and they're very close to a lot of what's happening. But I don't know. I got my head around it a little bit better. I think that this here and what we're doing now, it's a privilege. I'm very fortunate that I'm in a position where I can do what I do with Ultimate Frisbee and talk about it. But what's happening right now, I think I like the fact that there's this much attention on this issue. Looting is a disaster, but the fact that so many people are starting to be active about this is huge, and I think that just leads us to a really good place. But people came here for Ultimate, not my politics, so yeah. I won't dive too deep on that.
Yeah, it wouldn't feel right not to talk about it though a little bit, because it's big in everybody's mind. But I agree, we should also do the Ultimate Frisbee thing. Yeah, from my kind of brief perspective, so it's been a massive problem that everyone's kind of known about, and it's been in the background, and it's been like, well, how is it possible to even solve this? And now that so much crazy stuff is happening, like I was really sad about it yesterday, and kind of felt desperate about the state of the world, and sad that people had to, younger people had to grow up in it, seeing what the infighting from adults and everything like that. It made me very unhappy. But then today, kind of seeing like the kind of violence is like kind of not leveled out or like gone down. Like there aren't loads of clips today of like extreme police brutality, of looting and burning things, and so I don't know. I think it's been such an underlying problem that it's kind of it being lumped together now with Trump almost gives it a bit more of a physical kind of thing, So then if Trump gets defeated, then suddenly it's that might actually make a big impact to be like, look, it's not okay to have these underlying racist ideas, and the world is kind of saying no to that right now.
100%, and I think only it's the powder keg that leads to some sort of massive change. You would think. I mean, I heard like the LA mayor was talking about defunding their police department. Like, wow, and obviously LA is probably the most infamous, at least in my lifetime, for the Rodney King beatings and riots that ensued, which are like the precursor to this kind of what's happening right now. And so I thought that was like amazing to hear. Like, that's just not what I expected to hear from this. And the Minneapolis mayor, he was unequivocal from the moment this happened about demanding justice. So like there's some plain speak coming from some politicians right now that like I've never heard ever in my lifetime, and that bodes well. Yeah, it's an incredibly volatile situation though. Like there's so many different things that could happen. It's impossible to predict with all the different elements as well. Like all different opinions, all different groups, all different angles and perspectives. And then one action, could be a spark. Exactly right. It's like V for Vendetta, my favorite movie. We're like in that moment, and that's kind of scary to admit.
The world has been exactly like a movie, just since Australia started burning in January, and then everything since then has just been what is happening.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I see you're multitasking, chatting to the chat in chat.
Oh, naturally.
Yeah. So what was going on in chat today? We've got quite a lot of action.
Let's see. They're asking me about my player roles. I've got 28 of them. And like they're basically Saul Yanuck asked, who's the most fake mobile reset in this game, which is one of the player roles. I shared them with the Team USA players in our like prep documents. But pretty much anybody who I've coached in the last 2 years, 2018 and on, has gotten this like my player roles, and it's just a way that we describe our opponent so that people get a sense of what they like to do on the field and what their team needs them to do so that we can defend them better. So I'll give you an example. The fake mobile reset that Saul is shouting out. Let's see. Okay, the fake mobile reset description. The primary position is handler, and it says they're quick enough sometimes that people fear an upline cut, but they rarely make one. So usually that's based on like the reputation of you of that handler being once exceptionally quick, and then as they maybe age or unfortunately due to some injury or maybe that season they're not that fit, they just kind of use that reputation to get open as opposed to actually going up line.
Yeah, I remember Ben Wiggins. I got a message back from a teammate who was watching him play, and I said, watch out for this guy. Just like watch what he does all the time. And he said he'd never seen someone get so free just by looking up line, like literally just turning ahead and looking there. The defender's like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly. That's the fake mobile reset. They scare you with their essence.
I had a weird like hip injury, like compacted pelvis type thing. So I way back in the early 2000s, and it meant that I couldn't run. This is like for like a few weeks, and I couldn't run higher than 60-70%, if that. And if I did, then like my muscles would all seize up, and I'd have to like fall to the ground. It was really weird, and it was solved just by like a chiropractor just cracking me once, and I could run at full speed again, like immediately. But yeah. I played a couple of tournaments, and it was like, right, we'll do a zone. I'll go deep. And I had a good reputation, right, for running fast, jumping high.
Right.
And they only threw it deep against me like once or maybe twice in the entire tournament. And as soon as they let go of the disc, I just didn't even pretend to chase after it. I was just like, oh no, they've caught me out, out of position. Never actually had to run higher than 60%.
Yeah, exactly. I've got roles for that too, for like for deeps and fast players who like are no longer fast and they just kind of fake it.
28 rolls. That's a lot. I think one of the first times I heard of you or interacted maybe, it was Charlie Hops sending me the playbook that you made. Was that for?
It was for the Phoenix. The 2015 Philadelphia Phoenix. Yeah.
And he connected us being like, I think you guys get along really, really well. Check out what Darryl's done here. And it was so in depth, like massive document going through all these different kind of aspects of what Ultimate is, what the current state of Ultimate is, how you're going to beat it. And you've had like massive successes in recent years. Thank you. I should have done a bit more research, but in 2018 you were runner-up coach of the year, right, in the USA?
Yeah, in both club and college division.
Wow, both club and college.
Yeah, that year was really kind of amazing. It was like my solo coaching year. The Breeze, I did not have an assistant. Truck Stop, I did not have an assistant that year. And 2018 with UND, with Maryland, I had an assistant, Nate Pryor. And he was helpful for sure, especially game day. But I think because of that, people are like, wow, like Truck Stop had a better season than it was supposed to. The Maryland, I mean, we made nationals, which was, out of nowhere that year for most people. So I think that was the year that got me on the map. And that was the year I think that helped me get this appointment to the USA national team. Like at that point, when I got the nationals, I was told that I should consider applying. I never thought about it, but when they told me to do it, I was like, okay. And lo and behold, I got an interview, and then I get this gig. So 2018 is definitely like my high point for sure as a coach. Yeah.
Well, but then. Okay, so this wasn't a high point.
Winning Worlds? Oh, it was absolutely a high point. I think it was the first time I ever came in with a team that was like had the obvious power to win the whole thing. And I've had some Truck Stop years that were like that, but we were never the favorites as Truck Stop. So. Oh yes, your infamous cat.
Yeah, she's a bit camera shy today though, apparently. She's been really cuddly the last couple of days.
Yeah, she's active. I like it.
I think she could tell that I was a bit upset yesterday, and she kind of slept next to me in bed and woke me up in the morning with cuddles. It was very, very cute.
Oh,
I know, so cute. And then I was playing Rocket League earlier, and she came and like lay here and like hugged my arm, like rested her head and put like a paw over my arm. Yeah, super cute.
That's so cool.
Cool. Well, hopefully we can hear more about the roles and stuff during the game. So, as we go through it, if if there are convenient points.
I've got my scouting report up for Team Canada, so I have my notes from that day, so I can definitely talk about their roles, or at least what I thought they were.
And I have a slightly, I'm encountering problems already. What is the issue here? I've got a slightly new setup. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, I was gonna bind one of the keys to. Oh yeah, mute. Right, okay, I need to find where the mute is. So I've got a slightly new setup on the recommendation of Darryl. You do quite a lot of streaming to your teams as well. Yeah,
I even USA Ultimate actually heard about it too, and they had me do a presentation to US coaches about how to do this kind of stuff, how to do the stuff you're doing, right? The software behind it, the whatnot, how to get your team involved. So yeah, I do a fair amount of streaming for the Breeze. Maybe at the peak, it was about 3 times a week. It'd be one virtual practice, one film session. Those were both internal to the Breeze. And then I would do one like public thing where we would rewind a game like you and I are about to do. We'd play Rocket League, things like that. So yeah, I've streamed a lot in the last 3 months.
You think there's potential for an international Ultimate Frisbee Rocket League?
Potential. I feel like if somebody started a Discord server right now, it would just happen. So
well, I've got a Felix Ultimate Discord server. We can make a little Rocket League room.
You should do that. You should put your is your Discord out there on the?
Not fully, no. I put the link out. I'm going to put the link out at the end of the stream. And if we have time at the end, then let's go hang out in Discord and chat to the viewers and to the patrons, and maybe players can hang out in there as well.
Absolutely,
if we have time. Okay, now we've got Liam Grant and Tom Stiles on the commentary. But with this new setup that I've got, I might need to.
Darren Wu, a couple years off there. I don't think Darren's on this team, right? This is Saul Yanuck asking about this. Darren Wu is, I don't even know what year he was, but not this year.
Oh, actually, I was going to show the rosters. I still can.
Yeah, Cole Keffer, he was like impressive coming into this. He was killing it with his stats. He had so many goals. He reminded me a lot of like John Randolph actually, in his play style for Team Canada. So he was somebody we were particularly worried about for sure. Okay. Sarcasm. Sorry, Saul. Fair enough.
Rue has actually come and put her head on my controlling wrist now, so it's nice and fluffy and warm. So you were coaching USA in this game.
Yep, I was assistant coach under Bob Cryer with venerable Joe Durst. Quite the trio. Jeez, look at that Mac Hammer, man. Like our zone plan, we had one, and then it really was more like, hey, let's get Mac the ball, and then let's fix it with him throwing something over the top.
It's a bit of a double team there, I think.
Well, you know.
Ooh,
got a lot of AUDL players, so they're not worried about that, I guess. Oh, Mac, man. Like, look at him. He's breaking the zone.
Oh,
almost single-handedly. Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna. The controls I'm using are slightly different now. All right, so there we go. This is what I thought the double team was here. It's not too bad because I think he might be guarded.
Actually, yeah, I don't know that there is a double team. Fortunately,
no, it could be
just taking advantage of our spacing.
Yeah. I can mute with this, and I can slow down with this.
So yeah, I mean, you see the over the tops for Mac are just like 3 or 4 of them, you know.
Mm-hmm. This is Mac here with it just now.
Yep.
He throws the flick.
Backwards hat. Yep.
Yeah, just a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Poor Tanner. Yeah, that's too bad. We were flowing pretty well.
Yeah, that would have been a lovely first point. So I was working at this tournament. I was camera one on this really high scissor lift in front of the crowd for this game. First time I'd worked with Ulti-World. I was working with LTTV at the same tournament, and then got chatting to them. And Milan was supposed to be camera one, and he he kindly stepped aside so that I could step into the role. So I was super concentrated on my camera work here. So I think
I saw you at the tournament. We ran into each other, right?
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like we did. Yeah, Jason is super quick.
No. You see, he was trying. Oh, I need to change that. He was trying to like jump into the end zone.
Yeah, that throw definitely sailed. Also, so. What are you gonna do? A nervy start, as they might say on British commentary.
Is the Discord stream still working, or are you on the YouTube now?
I'm on YouTube.
I'll get to work. Maybe it thinks it's idle or something. Nice D. Just slow.
Is that Ted Siler? Oh man, my DMV brother Ted. Nice. It was really cool that I was able to. I had 3 truck stop players on that roster, so Christian Boxley, Ted Siler, and Chance Cochran. So that was really cool. I didn't feel, you know what I mean? Like there's a little slice of home while you're away there, because you got these relationships that you've already had. It's really nice.
Yeah, that's nice. I think when I was coaching the GB under 24s, under 23s, we had about 3 players from Brighton on there.
Nice. Yeah, you did the mixed team in 15, is that right?
Yeah, mixed in 2015.
How'd you guys do?
We came 5th. We beat Australia. We beat Japan. We took first half against USA and first half against Canada, but then they ended up winning those games, and we lost to Germany, unfortunately, and that meant we lost out in a 3-way tie. And then Australia, who we beat, ended up playing in the final. So we were almost did very, very well, and then came 5th, which is pretty good still. That was an interesting season because we were playing Hex and Flex, and it's the first time that all but 3 of the players had seen and played those strategies. So it's quite an intense test to try and get them all learning something new, and we kind of structured the trials and everything around it. Players that could adapt quickly. But anyway, that's not related to this game.
Makes a lot of sense to me. A fox in the box, yes. I watch a lot of I used to watch a lot of football, so I definitely know what you mean. Fox in the box is about right. Just an out-and-out striker who just takes advantage of every little inch in the small space that is the end zone and just dominates. I think this game actually has like 3 people who I would call red zone finishers. Boxley is definitely one, and that's actually one of the reasons why we had him on O-line, and John Randolph mostly played on the swing line, because they were like siphoning goals from each other. Mostly Boxley was scoring more frequently on the O-line than John Randolph was. So, I made the recommendation to Bob to switch them, and I think it paid off pretty well for us.
They both called it at the same time now.
Oh, nice layout. This is the longest first point, man.
Yeah, with loads of turnovers.
Like I said, nervy start.
It was almost so clean as well.
Mm-hmm. There's a decent crosswind in this game. It's from the stands outward. So the far part of the camera towards the camera, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I thought that might be a travel. It looks.
I would say by the letter of the law, yeah, that's probably a travel.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like no one in front of him, right? But
no,
he does travel multiple times, I think.
Yeah, it's really the change of momentum, right?
Yeah, change of momentum.
I guess maybe not. I don't know. It's hard to see.
Yeah, the feet definitely curl around and go towards, and it really helps his balance with the throw as well, I think.
For sure.
But he had no defender in front of him, so there's that. So rolls. Oh, there you are, Darryl. Coming onto the field. Rolls are an interesting thing in Hex. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the way that I kind of approach frisbee. Is almost like not thinking about roles and not thinking about the binoculars are out, not thinking about individual players to begin with, because I was like delving deep into the core of strategy and figuring out if everybody was robots, what would the best way to play be. And then in recent years, been thinking about roles, because one, it's really good for players to know their role, right, rather than just try and do everything.
Right.
And it's an important part of any strategy in the wider context, like I'm sure Sun Tzu, Art of War, has a lot to say about different roles and positions and things. And so in Hex, it doesn't make sense to have handlers and cutters. So instead, we're coming up with a few, like, have one or two players on the team that are dribblers. So every time they get it, they're looking to dribble. And then couple of players who are bouncers. So whenever they get it, they're looking to bounce the disc back to whoever gave it to them. Then you have generators, who are the ones who look to create power moves, like power position kind of plays. And then another role where they're more looking for the big throws over either like cross field overheads or the deep throws.
I recall us talking about that actually in 2016, if you recall. Or when you came to DC, or 17 maybe it was.
17,
yeah. Because like I use your offense a lot for zone attacking, and I feel that those roles that you described, specifically the person looking to receive the hammers or larger throws, and like the people who are initiator types or the generators as you call them, I definitely have analogous roles in my zone attack.
Yeah, I remember that conversation. Well, here we go, jump ball. Oh, nice. Let's just have another look at that.
That's a great block. Eric Taylor. Oh.
It just comes right in. Yeah, I remember you saying, I think it was Breeze at the time that you tried to teach them, basic, like, without calling it Hex, but Hex using Hex against the zone, because distribution of players and connections and everything. And you were saying that they were still playing it like in the old style. They still weren't looking to move the disc quickly. They were still catching, pivoting downfield, and they just weren't getting that flow as a principle. And from that, I remember explaining to you then, okay, well, the way I teach is that when a player catches the disc, they should look for this, and if that's not on, they should look for that. And you then said, that makes a lot of sense when you look at it like that. And that's when I then wrote the Hex movement decision tree. It was actually in the car from DC to Boston or wherever we were going.
Yeah, I recall. It was really, I appreciated you. When I saw that come out, I was like, oh, okay. The conversation was pretty sweet.
Yeah, that conversation meant a lot to me.
Look at this break, man. Eric Taylor, yeah, Saul said it. I think Eric Taylor was incredible. To me, there were three like players that were just completely dominant on this roster, this U24 roster. Mac on our O-line was, the glue of that offensive line for sure. He was everything to them. Eric on the swing line Eric Taylor was amazing. Blocks, throws, he could play pretty much every position. And then I thought Leandro Marks also on the swing line was, just quietly dominant. Maybe not. I mean, it's Eric Taylor to Leandro right now. So
AJ was talking about the inward pivots and outward pivots. It's just that's a very simple kind of inward pivot, like catches. It's not really pivoting anyway, and then facing infield, and then deep huck.
Yeah, we definitely did a lot of side attacking style offenses, right? We were doing vert and a little bit of host stack. the O-line, I think, was the team that was doing more of the center attacking things where, the inward pivot would be valuable. I mean, Tanner was part of that O-line, so if that was him throwing that throw to Eric Taylor, which I think it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like you can see it there. It's just a very simple thing of like
no, it wasn't.
Catching the disc, and instead of looking down the line, instead of turning and faking or anything, just looking infield. It seems obvious when you do it. It's like, well, why would you turn out? Why would you look outwards and stuff?
It's interesting because like Pony, 2018, their championship team, they're a sideline attacking offense, right?
Yeah.
It helps avoid poaching for sure. It really, I think it just depends on your offense's goal. And,
and the system. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But to me, I experimented this year with an outside attack based off of Pony in 18, and there's definitely some issues. There's a lot of ball holding when you have outside attacks, for sure. But it doesn't have to be that way. I think Ring of Fire does a great job of moving it from side to side, despite having a lot of outward attacking offenses.
Yeah. Yeah, it's more important to have everybody on the same page. So if everybody knows that they're gonna look for the outward attack first, and if everyone knows your offense is focused around yards rather than movement, then that can work. That has worked and it has won all kinds of championships. But there's a lot taken for granted. There's a lot of like, this is the way to play. This is the only way to do it. Like for example, fielding this pull. It's probably. Yeah, you get some yards with this, and then you do have a free player here, right? So potentially then he could actually be sprinting up, get another pass, and he's seen all the field already. But that's not the way anyone does it. It's always someone catches the ball, centers the disc, and then this person turns, and this person will inevitably then look downfield for 3 seconds, and so flow stops. But then that's not a bad thing if you don't play a flow offense. So.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I think the North American style is like we like to get our yards in chunks, big chunks, right? And so I think that's really the dominant meta in North America, and so that's why there's a lot more holding, because I think those big chunking cutting patterns take time to set up.
And the stall count's really long. You've got like 10 seconds, so you can afford 3 seconds looking for a big chunk of yards.
Exactly.
So it makes sense. It makes sense, kind of why that system is prevalent and why it works. But I feel like there's a whole other way of playing that just has not been explored so much, and it kind of makes me sad when there's teams that are trying to become the best, and instead of innovating, they look at what USA are doing at the moment and have done for the last few years, and then they try and just be better at that.
I feel like you're calling out a certain UK men's ultimate team. Am I right?
I feel like I've been doing that in every stream so far.
Oh man, Brighton tried to punch up to some other team. I don't know who they are. Some other big vertically cutting team with 6'4" cutters all the time. Who could that be?
Yeah, Brighton. It's an interesting thing with Brighton because we train up loads of great players. But then the greatest of the players in Brighton will go to Clapham, right? And I'm bloody wearing one of their shirts right now, in fact.
That's hilarious, by the way.
Yeah, and so it's a tricky thing with that kind of situation because you want your greatest players to go and play the greatest they possibly can for what was the best team in Europe, right? But
decade, maybe.
Yeah, but each one of those players could be the leader, in your club team, and instead they're not. They're just a bit player in another team, and that just happens so many times.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And in Philadelphia, the city in general had that issue. New York and DC's proximity meant that often we would lose whenever like New York was on an upswing, which wasn't much when I was growing up, but when DC was on an upswing, which was often in my time, we would just lose players. They would commute down there and play. So that's a pretty common occurrence. Or in Philadelphia, I was coaching citywide, and we and Patrol I was helping out with. It was like a unified program. And at the time, AMP was, in our early days, AMP was really powerful in the recruiting, and they were able to get a lot of the most experienced males in the city. So
I was almost recruited for AMP back in 2000.
To play?
2004. I was visiting my friend, and she took me to an AMP training. And at the beginning, it was an AMP trial. At the beginning of the trial, they said, "Oh yeah, so thanks for coming to this last trial. We've already picked the team, so we're just going to announce it now, and you're welcome to stick around for the trial." And I was like, "That's the weirdest trial I've ever been to." Like,
pretty awkward, yeah.
They announce the team at the beginning, and then everyone's kind of either pissed off or really happy, and then they get to like carry on playing. And so obviously I wasn't on the list because I hadn't been to any of the trials, or even said I was coming. But then I ended up marking against the captain and getting a few layouties, and after the game, they came up to me and said, "So, you in America for long?" But unfortunately, I was only there for a couple of weeks. So,
wow, yeah, a very different leadership of AMP now. I feel like Patrick Sherlock, he might not. I think he might be on the team at that point, or he might be 1 year off. The current coach, along with Raha. The two of them are just amazing, and the fact that they've like taken AMP culturally from what you just experienced,
well,
to what it is now.
Ask him if they remember an English guy with a mohawk turning up in 2004.
I will. I'll definitely ask Patrick. I just chatted with him last week, actually, last Sunday.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. Like, were they gonna bring me on the team and cut someone else? That said at the beginning of training would be on it.
Yes, trust me. The leadership at that time would have unquestionably done that. But also, there was no roster limits back then for club. I don't know if people don't know that, but
it's an interesting.
In 2004, yeah, this was definitely talked about for a while amongst our players. But yeah, in 2004 in Club Ultimate, there were no roster limits, and AMP. I found them notorious. They one season had 37 players.
37
in their team photo at nationals. 37.
That's my favorite number.
What? It's just an absurd amount of people.
It is crazy.
I was like, wait, so the men on that roster get what? A point a game?
Yeah.
If that?
Yeah. When the first time that Sussex Uni won Uni Nationals, we took a team of 12 and only 8 people played in the final.
Oh. Yeah, it was a different day. Ultimate wasn't as... I find the more players at the club level are at the average club level than there were back then. Back then, there were very good players, and then there were tryhards, and there wasn't much in between.
All right, so what's your opinion on this call?
In the moment, I thought it was a foul. And looking at it now, I understand the idea of a shoulder-to-shoulder, and I'm for that. And I think it starts off there. Like, let's see. Let me watch it again and look closer.
Yeah. I think
there's a second bump that's in the back that turns it into a foul. The first bump, fine. I think this is a second bump that like clears Boxley out of the play that makes this a foul.
So you think McKenzie fouls and 100%. Then drops it? Because I think the USA player might... That first one, I think that can be considered a foul. Like, I know that a lot of players will play accepting that level of physicality. But, technically, and I think if I was McKenzie and I got that kind of bump, then I'd be like, no, like that totally threw me off my game. But McKenzie takes it and then he gives it back.
He'll always give back the bump.
And then, and then he goes for the disc and it bounces out of his hands. So,
he's a strong man. Very strong. Yeah, you're right. By whiff diff rules, I think you make a very good point about Boxley's initial movement towards Mike. Like, he initiates the shoulder-to-shoulder, and in whiff diff, there's none of that. So you're right. It's a whiff diff foul. I think in North America, that initial move by Boxley would not be considered a foul. And both these teams obviously play North American Ultimate. But that second one, by both standards, is definitely a foul. Because I think that it's no longer shoulder to shoulder. That's okay. That's a push in the back. So
this is a better angle, isn't it?
Yeah, shoulder to shoulder, push in the back.
Yeah, I know. I think he might be trying to go for the shoulder again, but
right. But Boxley has gotten ahead of him because he's quicker.
And then their legs tangle a bit.
No, that's.
It also makes the first one. Okay, I'm changing my mind here. I don't think the American player. What's his name again? Sorry.
Christian Boxley.
I don't think Christian initiates this contact because he's going in a straight line.
It does. I think you're right. The other angle made me think that Boxley initiated the contact, but this angle looks different. It almost looks like Mike was like, "Don't overtake me." You know, Mike, the Canadian player. Don't overtake me. Oh, here's even another angle. Lovely. Yeah, there's like a rip move by Mike to say like, "Don't overtake me," but it's shoulder to shoulder-esque. I can accept it.
Yeah, the first move is okay. Yeah,
it's like this is fine.
McKenzie
then Boxley gets ahead of him, and then there's one more shoulder. So
yeah,
but yes, Mike made the call in the game, and we were aghast. I think.
Yeah, I can remember actually Charlie Eisenhood over my my thing, my comms, saying like because I was on camera one, and Charlie was like looking at the replays and being like, "That's a terrible call." I think.
Yeah, Mike makes the call.
Don't want to put words in his mouth, but.
Exactly. Like, what? Beautiful hair though, and if don't ever look at a photo of Mike McKenzie. He's got like Medusa set up, man. You're gonna or Siren Song. You're just gonna get lost in his eyes and his hair.
Yeah, I did find myself falling.
It's intense. He's got a mesmerizing photo, man. Because he's got like very light eyes. So anyway, I digress. His Siren Song worked again as they zoomed in on him.
maybe that's why he makes these calls, is because he's so used to getting into discussions and just having people melt in front of him.
I like that tactic a lot, actually. Just charm them.
Yeah, he's got charm and charisma and good looks. Just win every discussion.
Yeah. Oh my. But yeah, I mean, good on him for that they agreed to send it back, and we didn't talk too long, so quite appreciated.
Oh, it's a fairly long chat. I fast forwarded quite a lot there, but so
it felt long to me in the moment as well. But maybe the jump ahead, I feel better about it now.
Yeah, I can make it look better.
I think in the moment I thought Boxley fouled him, and then Christian told me later that what happened, and then I saw the video, and now obviously I'm thinking that Mike maybe fouled him, but hey, that's why we have contesting. This is the perfect amount of or moment for a contest call. I appreciate it.
Patient.
Let's just do it again.
Oh, so this is something I think I noticed a couple of times. Come on, rewind further than that. Is there's like an inclination to sandwich here. And the USA players kind of both at the front, and they kind of both make a little movement like this, so they could be potentially sandwiching here. And then when the cut goes, yeah, they almost do it. So this player at the back kind of comes forward, and it's like, yeah, I'll mark that. But this player's still marking him, and then
you can see Tanner's pointing too to kind of get them to do it.
Yeah.
But they double cover the same guy. You're right.
Yeah, there's no reaction then to like, oh, we're both marking the same guy.
Yeah.
When it should be like absolute urgency. Like as soon as you realize you're stepping in the same direction as the defender, it should be like, uh-oh. And then the offense.
Yeah, we practiced that a little bit. It was something that Truck was doing a fair amount, and I think the UNC guys liked it too. We had a lot of, or North Carolina players, I should really say, not just people from UNC Ultimate. They favored an end zone as well. So I think the O-line tried to get us set up here, but yeah, definitely made the error that can happen when you double cover the front. It's like once the guy, an offensive player commits to one side, then you got to run back to the 2 spot, right? The second cutter in the stack and guard them. So
yeah, and it is one of the hardest things to guard against. Like I train a lot of sandwiching, and one of the hardest things to guard against is when the player at the front cuts, like fakes one way and then goes the other, like going under, because that second player at the front does need to kind of be wary for that move. But there's a certain point where they've got to decide, like, right, I'm not going to half cover this guy. I'm going to like 100% cover the next guy in the stack. But it is one of the harder things to cover as a sandwich. But the thing is, there is no reaction here, so it's and I don't think it's in as well. just BTW. Yeah, but the reaction should come, and that's something that kind of only comes if you trained it and you're on the same page with like this is something we're going to do. His foot might be on the line here. It's a bit close to say.
But he sells it nice. It was a good jump up. I thought he was in the air in real time. So.
Okay, just a quick technical thing. People in the chat, is the stream smoother than usual? Because they're doing a little dance. Because I know the last week or two there was a setting or two I had to change, and sometimes it would be cutting out. And today I've completely changed the setup, as you can tell by the way that the footage jumps around. Slow modes are smoother.
Yeah, man. I'm awesome. This is awesome. I'm watching it on YouTube as well, and yes, Liam, or I said Liam. I apologize, Felix. It's better.
It is cool. All right, awesome.
I'm going to brag a little. I gave Felix a fair amount of unsolicited advice.
You were just like, "Why are you using that? That's completely destroying your computer. You should use this." I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was aggressive. I'm glad that you received it well. It was early morning, like tech support.
Yeah. He basically pointed me away from Premiere Pro, which is useful for other things, and towards a pot player. So now I'm in pot player, and I've rebound all the playback functions. So it's on my left hand, just like how I play Rocket League. Everything on the left hand.
Do you play Rocket League with mouse and keyboard?
I have the worst Rocket League setup, and I'm a bad player as well.
I'm floored that you play mouse and keyboard.
It's because I played mouse and keyboard my whole life. Nice dribbling almost. Is this dribbling? Oh, and then he gets kicked in the ankles. Yeah. So
for your troubles.
Okay, let's break this down in terms of like, is it dribbling? So he changes direction. He does two give goes, and in between them he changes direction. So that's really great technique. Initially, just to like release the disc as he's stepping forward. What's this guy's name again? Same guy, isn't it?
Eric Taylor. You talking about? Yeah. The center handler in this pause.
No, the one that's running, the one that's going to get the disc back.
Oh, I'd have to. Let me get closer with my eyes. Look, I need to pull out my binoculars.
So that's really nice. Like that
is
throwing.
That Saul? Maybe. I can't tell.
Is this dribbling? So yeah, that throw and receive back, really, really nice, great technique. And then he catches it back in this position, and the team, the rest of the team kind of aren't really set up, ready for it. He could potentially dribble with this player over here, so he didn't really need to kind of turn downfield, and he could have gone past here and then back over here. Let's just rewind quickly to see that. Yeah, I mean,
I feel 90% confident it's Saul at this point.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, let's say it's Saul. No, I'm not going to 1v1 against Darryl. I'll definitely lose. And then, so he catches it, looks downfield, and now there's a little delay here, but really he's just getting his balance, and then he's overbalancing, and now he's getting ready to throw again. So now he's changed direction with the disc in his hands, and without really coming to like, well, I don't want to say without really coming to a complete stop, but you know what I mean? Like, he's not like caught it, look downfield, pivot. It's like, this is still one move, yeah? The defenders are still on the back foot, and then he throws and he's off again. And then he almost gets it back. He has to slow down because 10 comes in here for the stifling D.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Saul, if there was a dribbler on this roster, I think Saul and Mac would be like the top two at it for sure. Saul looks to give and go all the time, no matter what, no matter where he's playing. So
it's so good, and like this player that lays out early on, like that. Yeah, like if a defender lays out, then you should be able to cash in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of honestly, a lot of North American players blow that opportunity. They'll catch a pass that, and yeah, John Randolph will dribble too for sure. But his is more like an ISO dribble, in my opinion. It's more like it seems similar because he's a short ranger, but I think that he's more ISO style. More of a weaver than a dribbler. But anyway. I
really like this move. That change of direction. The defenders are all just chasing. And then like the thing is, like if they smoothly change direction over here, then the defenders are still moving in that way, and I can do this. No, not like that. Like
yeah, Saul has an incredible head for the game, and I think that's why you see him manipulating the whole defense like that.
Yeah, and then if the disc just moves around this way, like especially if like this player here, like if he then dribbles over here, and then he can get the disc back over this side, and all the while all these defenders the momentum's still going that way. So if they reverse the direction of the play, then the defenders have to stop and they come back around the other way. So let's have another look at just the potential for keeping this move going, because he gets into a bit of a tangle in that he's got a defender in front of him. Yeah, so he's got a defender coming in front, so he slows down, right? But then he's got a defender coming in behind as well. And if the foul hadn't happened, or if this player had decided early on, right, you're not going to get it, he fakes that, gets both those defenders in there, and then he can then pass back here, and then they can start working over to the other side.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe some of the receivers aren't really in great positioning, and that's part of the reason why the disc is slowing down. I mean, because you can see that John Randolph and Saul both wanted to keep it moving, but like Eric maybe was a little too close, Eric Taylor, for the reset. So I think that they weren't getting the support that they would have needed to keep up that speed.
Okay.
I mean, you always talk about the structure being so important, and I can see that here, offering us for keeping that disc movement going. Yeah,
I think like if the player behind had left a bit more space, aim for that like 12 yards or whatever, and just got into that position, then that would have opened up enough space then that the defender wouldn't be able to cover him and hassle the thrower.
Mm-hmm.
And there'd be enough space that when you throw and then like if you throw and go with him, then there's enough space in front of them to attack.
This line, doesn't play together as often. This was like our, Canada had broken back here, so we pulled out like our, I guess a kill line is the language I've heard it called most of the time.
Right. Okay. A 2-2 kill line.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is our blended line. Mammoth as Saul's. He's telling all the inside names of our lines. We used a named line system as opposed to a like hand subbing. We're calling 7 names.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. I don't like that.
Yeah,
so
we did pods.
Yeah, I've done pods a lot too. I think they can work. The only challenge I found with pods is that sometimes it gives players like an excuse that, like, let's say the pod doesn't succeed. They could like blame the pod that they're paired with as the issue, or like I find that players are less determined to keep working through and troubleshooting their problems when you don't say to them like, this is your line and this is going to be your line. If they think there's an out like that, like, oh, you can mix me up with this other pod, or you could take me out of this pod and put me in this other pod. Like, if they have that out, then often they will just like point to that as the issue. I found. So that's why I like the line system, in addition to the ease of coaching.
Yeah. Another issue is when you have 4 players per pod, then when you combine 2 pods, 1 player needs to sub from one of the pods. And then
I would have 4, like pods of 3 and pods of 4 to compensate. So like you would pair up pods of 4 cutters maybe with pods of 3 handlers, something like that.
Yeah. We didn't have handlers and cutters.
True.
But yeah, that would solve that.
So this is panic moment here, right? Canada's that's 2 breaks in a row. We're definitely nervous here.
I hear the chat saying they couldn't see my pen. I did some nice arrows. That sort of been cut.
I saw no pen. Yes, that is true. I saw a mouse, but no pen.
I know why that is. It's because I'm capturing the window, not the screen.
The full screen. Got it. You don't have layers.
So,
Mea culpa. That was one of my suggestions. So now I've ruined Felix's setup.
It's fixable.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll fix it if I feel the urge to draw arrows. I think the arrows are really good, though, aren't they? Chat,
I think that's a key piece of what you do.
Yeah. Chat, you like me drawing arrows, don't you? Oh, side stack flood kind of thing against the zone. Nice little scuba over the top.
Liam says he wants you to unmute. He wants to hear himself.
Cochran Tice to the centre of the field. Johnson resetting back to Sider.
We get the volume right though, so that we can talk over it.
For sure.
Canadian fingers near.
Yeah, look at the big. This is a big space offense right here. You can see like we're taking 15, 20 yards per throw, except for the resets, obviously. But you know, this is North American Ultimate.
Oh, that's nice. Nice, good go type thing.
Back to Sider. Quick movement.
I think it was Angela Zhu in the women's final of this tournament, and she did some great give and go stuff. And I could tell, like as a camera one, you can tell when someone's dribbling because like it moves differently, like, and so you have to like track differently.
Oh yeah,
to the usual. Yeah, I didn't even think about that being a thing until I was actually in that position where I was like, oh, this is a different kind of filming technique. Oh, it's this person's dribbling. That's why.
Right, I'm whipping my camera left and right, and I had to be smooth.
It's actually really nice to film. Like I really enjoyed the smoother process.
Yeah, North America, I feel like you can set up a steady cam, and you're done. Like you're good to go. You just back and you're gonna see everything.
You could program it. It's like, okay, the disc is here, which means you just need to frame here.
Yeah. Yeah, this hammer, you know, I think in context it's a shame because like obviously Tanner and Mac have what 3 turnovers throwing to each other right now in this game.
I don't know, really.
Yeah, they do. They had the first flick. There was like, oh, yeah, there was an Endzone throw where Tanner threw too high to Mac. And now that hammered from Mac to Tanner. I agree, Saul. I agree.
But you have the best hammer in the world. Everything is like
right. Yes, he's earned the right to throw that hammer. He was slinging all tournament.
I think it's the right throw. You know, I think there's a big space over here that it could be, because hammers are always easy to lay out for if you're right-handed, catching from right-handed. It does look kind of clean from the defender here, though.
100%. This is legit. This is just a great day. I'm pretty sure Mac wanted to put that out into more space. As you can see, there's a whole lot more for Tanner that would have made it pretty uncontested for, you know, this D wouldn't have happened. Maybe the contact afterwards, but in North American Ultimate, I don't know. I wouldn't call that a foul.
Yeah, even in Wiftif now. Maybe Wiftif at the time, this was a foul?
I think it was. Because like, I think there's any contact at all.
No,
or
it wasn't
make contact to make a play, I think it's a foul in this
rules. Yeah, exactly. There could be incidental contact, which doesn't affect the outcome of the play and isn't dangerous.
Oh, did Wiftif update their rules? I don't know that. I would love if someone in the chat could link that for me.
Contact with the arm is now fine after the disc is gone. So like this one, if it is that clean kind of disc on hand on disc and then arm on arm after the disc, then that's fine.
Oh, that's an update, and I like that because I found that very different.
Uncontested. Yeah. Wait.
Well, by Wiftif rules. At that time, that was a foul. You could have 0 contact before or after, and you can't make a play. You weren't allowed to make a play if it was almost certainly going to create contact.
Yeah,
and I guess that's a scenario where you could argue that he came through him. You know.
Yeah. I mean, the 0 thing isn't technically true because there's that incidental contact clause, but
True.
That bid was always going to be contact. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. But yeah, I like that change. I think that'll really, well, it'll ease the North American players' adaptation. I don't know about how the rest of the world feels about it, but we definitely struggle. There's Boxley. Yep, red zone finisher.
I keep replaying this. Trying to. I don't know. I'm trying. I feel like I can almost see something. There's a potential for a switch here. Like if this player
defensively
runs in.
Yeah, that would have been a good switch.
It would have had to be
that guy's beaten, you know, and you should help him instead of just staring at the problem.
And maybe that maybe that extra moment of thought is what caused him to be one step off.
I think Christian Boxley is what caused him to be several steps off. Christian's first step is unbelievable. That's why he and JR are just red zone finishers. They both have, in very different ways, like the most powerful like change of direction I've ever seen. Like John's is like trained through muscle, and Boxley is strong, but his is like more of a quick twitch. Like he's more lithe. John's is like strike the ground and push hard against it.
I'm going to try and get my pen working, which is going to distract me for a second.
Okay, I can carry the chat. But yeah, just the two of them both can do like this jump step, kind of like a crossover move. It's kind of sweet. And yeah, Saul, I agree with you. I think it's because like Box weighs so much less, so like his ability to change direction is like pretty effortless. Whereas John like will jump stop to do it a lot of the time, or most of us need 3 steps to stop changing direction. John can do it like in 1 or 2 very powerful steps. So I think that's why Box just looks like effortless, whereas JR looks like the epitome of a sweaty cutter. Noah, talk about the roles of the Canadians. Yeah, sure. Let's see. Let me see what I thought their O-line was. I'm going to look at my scouting document here. So, let's see. Oh yeah, I think I got it pretty much spot on. So their center handler was Connor Armstrong, right? Number 12. So I labeled him as a stay-at-home handler, right? His main role. Let's see how I should describe this. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 major positions. I would say. So handler is a major position. The hybrid handler and cutter is a major position. Straight up cutter is a major position, and then a finisher is a major position, right? And so and then there's sub roles that are underneath those primary positions. So Connor Armstrong, number 12 for Canada. He's a center handler, and he is a stay-at-home handler, which for me, that description is, you probably already know this, but doesn't try to get power position, gets only backfield resets, never becomes a cutter.
Standler.
No, well, that's an incredible grab. A Standler, that's harsh. I do have a concept of a Standler. I don't know that he's quite. I wouldn't refer to him as a Standler.
Yeah,
but yeah,
right. It's a little bit. It's a little bit too static.
If we're talking about league players, though, like your local recreational league, absolutely there are Standlers. But no, he's above a Standler for sure. Yeah, Ty Barbieri. Great catch. I called him a pure finisher. So he plays the role or the position of finisher, and his role as a pure finisher is, quote, someone who rarely cuts under, or if he did, he would just catch it and move the disc at a very high tempo, i.e. they're not very aggressive with the disc. They're like auto dumps or, just simple throws.
So there's I think the key thing in this play is the lefty backhand. Just nice, quick release, lefty backhand, and then he's got the disc in power position. There's a poach off the back here, but
I just think he beats him straight up in a vertical run, right? Oh, I see. There's help. Yeah, the help is there.
Yeah.
The one challenge I would say that our line had, this top line, this swing line, we were very height deficient. Defensively, I was very nervous about that being exploited throughout the tournament. And even though Ty Barbieri is not the tallest guy, his vertical is impressive. And I think he was, we would have had to put I think we might have actually later on put Tanner or Henry or somebody like that on him. Somebody we borrow from the O-line because they are bigger people. Question for the two of us. At what point in your respective Ultimate careers did you start doing video analysis, and what do you find to be the benefits of making over watching them?
So I the first time I kind of was subjected to video analysis was I went around experienced player's house and they showed me like a VHS of some North American Ultimate, and yeah, I was just watching it and seeing, oh yeah, there's this person catching and scoring, and then he said, you know, did you see what you did there? And I'm like, oh, I think so. You cut to the open side, and then he'd rewind it, and then he'd show me like, you know, look, he fakes his person out here because they're face marking. He pretends that the disc is over on this side of the field, and then he cuts hard the other way, and that kind of like opened my mind to the possibilities. And then I started doing lots of filming around 2005, and I made a DVD in 2006. And so I think around like 2006, 7, 8, I probably watched more Ultimate than anyone, because I was filming all these tournaments, and then I was making DVDs where I had to cut every game down into like highlights that told the story of the game. So I was like watching Ultimate constantly for years before there was YouTube. You know, it was quite ridiculous. And then it was from, you know, through doing that, then I basically naturally then started to analyze the footage, start to sink in like that. And then it was only when I did the USA versus Japan analysis video that it properly became like, you know, online on YouTube analysis and that kind of stuff. How about yourself?
Honestly, it was that 2018 year. That was like I think I did it more earlier than that too. But Will Smolinski in 2017, he was my assistant coach on Truck Stop and The Breeze. And one night for Nationals, or many nights at Nationals, you know, he was doing the defensive coaching, the D-line coaching. And so he was doing a lot of video analysis. And I was watching him, and I was mesmerized at how he saw the game, and he was seeing it so much better than me. And then in 2018, I didn't have him. You know, I had no assistant, and so I had to like do my best Will impersonation. And do that role. And so I found myself really focusing on coaching up the D-line and letting my offensive lines on all three teams pretty much manage themselves. But yeah, it was then that I really started to, you know, with The Breeze, you do it every week in and out, just watching the next opponent. Because you have so much time, you go into no game unscouted. And so I think that's where I developed a lot of these techniques and these roles, and it really started to get pretty powerful for me. I think making videos has consolidated my theories better. Like I find myself, I had like a whole digital notebook for the last, you know, 7 years of thinking. And, you know, it wasn't consumable by others, I would say, you know, like we'd have to have a conversation around whatever I wrote. But by making videos, it's forced me to like make the accompanying PowerPoint slides, consolidate language, find good examples. So I think that making videos has just made me tighten up my knowledge into a consumable package.
Yeah, my brain works entirely on pattern recognition. So I ended up spotting good things and bad things, like techniques, and sometimes I'd understand them, sometimes I wouldn't. But if I didn't understand it, then I'd start like teaching it, and then I'd understand it through teaching it, right? So I think, yeah, just being subjected to so much video footage in a video editor, you know, where I wasn't just watching it all through at one-time speed, you know, I was rewinding and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
It just kind of helped me spot a bunch of things.
No, I agree. I mean, I am a product of video, right? Because I left the game from 2006 to 2012, you know, as a player and a thinker of the game. I just played League Ultimate for that time period. And then when I came back into the sport, you know, I was thrust into like a coaching, being an assistant coach for semi-pro. And I had seen the boom in video, you know, with Next Gen's coverage at the time. I mean, I think they were one of the main reasons that Ultimate Video took a giant leap forward.
Yeah, so, they're good. And Skyd made... Oh, it's a shame.
Skyd as well. I think those are the two.
Skyd was the first... When I was watching Skyd, not sure it was even 2014. It might have been 2012. And I could see what they were doing. Like, I could see how they were doing the production of it, and that's the first time I got interested in like live production of frisbee. And it's, you know, it's not a good sign that I could see the production of it. Normally that's not what we want if you're doing production. But I found it incredibly interesting. You know, I could see that they're like making highlight reels as they were going through it and everything like that. And I've had a fantastic time the last few years playing at filming, not travel called, filming TV, involved in the production stuff. Right, here's the travel, so it's like 1 meter in. So he does that foot rotation thing, which should not be called a travel. The force doesn't even move. I remember this because it's my biggest mistake of the final. And then the end position there is like a little bit closer, so that's like a few inches. What do you think, chat? Is that worth calling? Like, especially if you're not bidding on the disc. It's a bit of a loaded question.
I mean, it's forcing backhand, right? So it's like, was there extra gain here?
People argue then it's like, well, he gets better balance, you know, by doing that.
Yes, he does.
Or he just has bad balance, but you know, he gets away with it, kind of thing. It's not bad balance, but it's like, yeah, there's an advantage maybe to the, not to the technique of traveling, but the fact that he isn't trying not to travel, and the fact that he does travel means that he just wasn't so clean with his technique. I think that's the kind of justification of it.
Yeah, it's rough. I think the travel is really analogous to basketball's like the palming violation, or even the traveling violation in basketball. Like, over time we have relaxed its rules on what is palming, right, to enable like crossover dribbling by like Tim Hardaway and Allen Iverson and all these like very exciting players for the sport. You know, because back in the day you had to just literally have your palm on top of the ball. You could not ever put it to the side or underneath. I feel like traveling is the same thing in our sport, you know, where if you go by the letter of the law, like, yeah, it should be fine. But I think that being slightly generous, like we all mostly are, on it has allowed for, you know, more of a creativity. I'm a huge NBA fan. Massive. From 93 till now, I know my basketball. From 2002, 2001 until 2011, I'm like huge on soccer. So like huge.
Guys,
huge.
It's no wonder you have interest in Hex then with the triangles, you know, the triangle offense in basketball and the quick disc movement like the tiki-taka in football.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that travel call was really bad, by the way.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
That's a kind of fortunate throw in a way. And then, is this a travel? This one looks a lot more like a travel, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's a foul.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, right? Does he have a legal foot position? Is he
draws the foul, which is
and this is a foul.
Is he drawing it? So yeah, I like what he does. He gets the disc on the front of the end zone, and the force is trying to get around, and he's there so early he can step forward. So now the force has to go all the way around him, but the force doesn't really go all the way around him. The force kind of tries to go through him, and then he's like, "Well, you're currently fouling me," and then he releases the disc just after his foot comes up, I'd say. But he's being fouled at the time, so I think that should count as a goal.
Agreed.
I might try and point the camera at my arm because it's super cute. I have to be careful not to move. Can I reach? Oh, I can't reach.
Yeah, Tom, USA O-line still looking
Oh.
Again,
Oh, I can't do it. Maybe I can show you this. Oh, not quite. Basically, Rue is like cuddling my arm at the moment. It's really cute.
But they're able to run it down here, Vote. Again, that throw, a little overthrow and a little push pass to get the goal.
Yeah, Rue, indeed.
She's so cute.
So cute. If you want more Rue content, such as, you know, photos of her just around the house, in the garden, the occasional video, then it's only $8 a month to become a patron.
What do you mean? She doesn't have her own Insta account? What's going on?
Yeah.
Do you let it on the computer, Felix? That's very impressive. Oh yeah, this Canadian O-line never changed, man. They rolled at the same 7 every point, I think. I don't even think they went any deeper than that. One other player sometimes I thought would come on. Ryan Hoy. Almost perfect pull.
So, just to talk a little bit about Patreon, I lost my jobs doing frisbee filming and coaching. So that's not happening at the moment at all. That was normally my biggest bit of income for the whole year, is doing the filming stuff, and it's not that much. So all this stuff I'm doing costs money. You know, money for the webcam, money for this microphone, money for Rue's food, and the software I buy as well. So it all costs money. If you would like to share that burden, then you can pledge $1 a month, or however much you can afford, on patreon.com/FelixUltimate. I'll post the link in YouTube now. Any support you give is much appreciated, and unless you opt out, your name comes up at the end of my videos and I shout you out and everything. I hope you're enjoying the stream.
Moving down the line, USA threatening to break back, get us on.
Yeah, it's important stuff. I mean, I was doing the Pro Life and Ultimate last year as well, and this year, you know, it has been 100% my income as well. So I think, you know, honestly, like for our sport to get to the point where there can be more, you know, thinking and creativity like what you've done, you know, I think what you're doing on Patreon is a great start. You know, it's going to come from the players supporting the people out there who are just putting out a lot of content. So, and then you can get more professional people, or if there are more youth players playing, there'll be more coaching opportunities, and that would also mean, you know, more opportunities for people to be professional.
Yeah.
So, Angelo, the swing line, it's like a lot of teams will structure themselves offensive unit or O-line, and defensive unit, a D-line, or multiple D-lines, most teams. But one other way of like kind of organizing your roster is to maybe go one line that's more, you know, O-line, or go out situationally more when you're about to receive a pull, and a D-line would go out there when you're about to pull to the other team. So the swing line is the team that you would say it doesn't matter what the situation is, they can play both ways. They've got an equal balance of offensive talent and defensive talent. So that's the swing line.
I really want to show Rue. I really want to show Rue. I was trying to chase.
Pushing it down with the frisbee. Quite apropos.
It's so close. I'm like 2 centimeters away, but I know that Rue will just like get up in a second.
And it'll change the whole look that you're trying to capture. Oh man.
Oh no. Oh, okay, now she's settling down.
Absolutely rammed with players and spectators who've come with their teams out here to Heidelberg. So
woof.
There you go. You saw it. Oh, camera's
oh.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Canadians.
Yeah, we saw it.
USA, family and friends.
You're still sort of in frame, shockingly. Oh, now, yeah.
You know what,
A little higher.
I can do that, and then I can rotate the TV.
I did say we were
As long as it doesn't
Ooh, a dedicated Rue cam. Yeah, a second webcam just for Rue. That makes sense.
Yeah, so
never turned over all tournament.
if I get
very exciting game down on
oh,
the
they should
field.
repositioning. Oh, and they should just put their head on my arm. So cute. If I get 50 patrons, and I've got like, there you are, Darryl. If I've got 25 patrons, if I get 50, then there will be a dedicated Rue webcam. Also, if you could become a patron whilst I'm live, or if you donate, maybe you want to buy me a coffee. This helps me work. But I'm not finished. Then it plays a GIF on the stream, and it plays a nice little frisbee tune. But I don't want to take up any more of the stream by you know, requesting a patronage. But the option is there if you are able.
That sort of thing together. Lemieux on the far side.
So how do I apply the roles when I'm deciding matchups? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll just look at how the other team structures themselves, and come up watching enough film that I get a sense of what their roles are, and then we'll just figure out like our best defenders for that. Honestly, your D line should already kind of be comprised of some handler defenders, people who guard initiators, or like maybe another way of looking at it is like space defenders, or people who do well maybe on the weak side versus people who do better kind of locked up playing person-on-person defense and not as focused on playing team defense, for instance. That's one way of looking at it. And then, of course, I definitely have like big defenders, the tall people who are, or the athletic people who can guard the Thai Barbieri's, for instance, the people who are clearly out there attacking goals. So
wow, it's really hard to stop this. Even though it's
just beautiful throwing. Yeah, we get really lucky here.
This first throw, I think it must be this first throw. The fact that at this point, at this point,
is that Kinley G throwing that? I think
Kinley G.
I think that's him.
But like the disc goes all the way over here.
It's a good throw.
Which is exactly like you want to use that separation, and it's in that direction, right? So then boom, if you can lead the player over here, that's ideal. The pen's working again, I'm happy. So and this is putting touch on the throw as well. Like, I think it's still an underrated skill, is putting touch on it so that it just floats out in front of the person. But the deep defender here does react like fairly quickly, and fairly dedicated as well. He sees this, and from this point on, he's not jogging. But yeah, there's just no way because of that first throw. It's just kind of opened it up. Just gloss over the fact that it's not a score.
Yeah, because it was beautiful up to that point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so that defender gets sucked in a little bit. Yeah, when the throw goes up, he's like, "Oh, I've got a chance at this one." So he then goes to go in, and then that offense then is like, "Right, I'm going to punish you for that decision." And he tries to communicate. He tries. It's done by then.
Pressure from the USA.
That's just a shame.
Goes up with his offhand
Too much edge.
and does not collect the disc.
And that crosswind.
Brady says it's time for that USA defender to run into the thrower and call a pick.
Oh, jeez.
Would that have been a little cool? Let's have a look.
Armstrong on this near side is going to have to milk this one down the line. That's a very
There's no chance.
Pressure from the USA. Devon Thompson.
Yeah, we got gas right there.
They had a completion rate of 50% when throwing from power position this game. So I see the USA defense doing some smart situational poaching, but it's very reactive. And when it comes to like sandwiching and preempting the offensive movement, then yeah, like it seems to be mostly reactive rather than preemptive, the moves, which means that it can limit damage, but you can't really gain advantage.
You've nailed it. I mean, we are, we're playing a very conservative defensive style. So I think your analysis is quite spot on there.
Did he take his hat off? Did he lay out and take his hat off?
That flick was immense.
Yeah. I was a bit surprised that the defender was actually covering him like he was. He's kind of allowing that deep cut. But he got pretty close to it. Oh, nice catch.
Yeah, again, I think the wind plays some factor there as to why maybe he's being, the defender's thinking that, oh, you're not going to throw that deep. And look, we don't really get a lot of air on that. I mean,
because I started looking at him here and he's like, okay, he's deep. And then he's like, okay, he's still deep.
Yeah, I think he feels pretty confident that, like, well, one, there was a chunk that happened that he doesn't reposition for. And that huck, it only goes 40 yards or so. Eric is he's capable of throwing much further than that. I think the wind must have been gusting at that moment.
No, he doesn't take his hat off. Though he might hit him on the head. Yeah, oh, the wind, yeah. The wind actually, anyone that was in the stands might have seen this. But the wind like knocked my umbrella over. So I'm up on top of this like, 10-15 meter high scissor lift. And then this umbrella like gets blown over. And like comes into me and I have to like catch it before it like smashes into me in the camera.
Yeah. I mean, you can see the jerseys and the flags right now are rippling. Or they were while that point was going on. So I'm pretty sure he was playing the wind and thought that was the harder throw. I mean, that was the downwind direction. It was in this like crosswind.
Yeah.
So I respect it. I wouldn't have. You don't believe that people can throw until you discovered that they can throw. Like when I was younger, Fortunat Mueller was the first player that I saw that like threw some stuff that made me realize like, okay, so we trapped him on the sideline, right? And he's holding that flick, and he's holding it, and then he just throws like a 60-yard flick to the back corner, on the same side of the field, like not like just what? It was only in bounds for the last moment that it was caught in the back of the end zone. I was like, fine, he can't do that twice, right? He did it like 4 or 5 times that game where he just threw that same huck, and we're like, wow, okay.
Yeah, sooner or later, could have adjusted our defense in a bigger way, I guess, to try and stop that. So there was an interview with something between, I think it was maybe Soccer and Furious, and it's probably someone like Oscar Pottinger maybe on Furious, who would always throw scubas just over the top. And so for the first season or two, Soccer were like, okay, look, okay, fine, he might throw scubas, but they're a bit of a risky throw, so if they throw scubas, that's fine. And then after a while, they were like, no, he's always throwing the scubas, and they're not risky for him. So let's train somebody to put a no scuba force on. So then, yeah, Soccer actually had a dedicated person that would go and have a high hand in the middle.
I'm thinking it must have been Derek Alexander, would be my guess.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah, is great at scoopers.
Was that around 2006 kind of time?
Oh yes, he was on that team then.
Yeah, that'd be it. Ooh, he landed on the line, didn't he? Is he so sure that that's...
I vaguely recall thinking that he was in. I think I saw his feet.
Does he? He might accidentally land right foot first, or he might deliberately land right foot first.
Let's see if this jogs my memory. This view.
I'm afraid that
it looks out.
Although his back foot is also down.
Yeah, around the same time.
Yeah. So if you look like this, it looks like his right foot, so left on our side, is higher than the other one, but it's just actually backwards. So it's like, so that back foot might actually be coming down, because I think his toes are bent in that second frame. We
need
Hawkeye
240 frames per second.
Yeah.
On this video in order to see this one.
Maybe Des got it. Des Tatenda, he's a patron, and he's on camera down in this corner over here. So we'll see whether he got an angle on it.
From my perspective,
yeah, you'd have to have that sport mode, right, on the camera. Super fast shutter.
This is Casper.
You need a lot of frames to tell if this is in or out. Wow.
I'm trying to get the frame by frame to be smooth.
Well, it's smooth as it'll be, right? You've got whatever. If it's 30 frames a second, it's 30 frames a second. So.
Yeah, it's just the software isn't responding exactly at the time that I press the button.
Oh, not on reverse. Agreed.
Yeah.
Forward, it's good, but reverse, it's a little slow.
Sometimes it can be good.
It depends on the encoding, honestly. If it's encoded in if it's in a different encoding, it's better.
So here's a good discussion. Is it more important for the game advisor to have a good view or for the camera to have a good view?
The camera, because the game advisor can make no ruling.
Especially if you have a monitor, on the sideline, so or even on the camera. So if the players can actually see what the camera has seen, then I think way more important that the camera has a better view than the game advisor. This was actually a massive point of contention between the LTTV crew and the game advisors at this tournament. And the end result was a couple of bad rules being added to WU24 about use of technology. And
we got them added to the USA Ultimate as well.
Really? But
yeah.
Those ones they're bad rules, aren't they? It says that.
What do you mean?
It says that you
can.
weird call. It says you can only if you watch footage on the sideline of a play, you're only allowed to give your opinion if it goes against your team.
What? That's the WU24 rule?
Yeah, that's a new rule on use of technology in the appendix, like 7B or something. So you can watch stuff on the sideline, but you can only tell your team what you've seen if it goes against your team. So there's basically like no trust. You know, where's the spirit of the game gone?
I don't think we have that statement in our rule. I think our rule is just that, well, we have observers too, right? So I think it's more for that the observer can elect to use a sideline camera if they choose. So I think that's how we implemented it. I don't think there's any weirdness that, like, well, only if it's going to be disadvantageous should you say something.
Yeah. It definitely got weird because we got into arguments with the game advisors and then WU24 have actually released something during this tournament saying, you know, you're not supposed to look at cameras, and then we were like, it says in the rules that you can so long as it doesn't delay the game. And then there was one game that we were filming late in the tournament, and the game advisor and the players were like, can we have a look at the footage on the screen? And the game advisor was like, no footage allowed. And we were like, literally, the game advisor is breaking the rules and stopping the players from adjudicating their own game. Yeah, it's pretty contentious. Opinions about this call?
Straight up USA foul. Period.
Yeah, because it gets a bit tangly, doesn't it? There's like...
Yeah, his arms are akimbo, you know. He's like pulling and sliding and falls over top of him. Like, this is just a foul. There's no two ways around him.
Ended up in a deep there. Not sure who tripped who.
This is just a foul.
Did he just drop his... He just dropped his mudguard on the floor. That's disgusting.
Well, it's his shirt. It's his mouth. I recall giving Tim, like, the eye from the sideline to let him know that, like, dude, no. Like, nothing to argue about here.
Well, should we turn up the volume and let him have his say? I think I will. Okay, right. Rewinding. Turning up the volume.
Because it was short, and we both thought it was going really far, and then it was short, and then it caught wind, and so I'm going straight, and then you changed your direction into me, and like just came into the space I was about to enter.
So what happened was it was short. I realized it sooner because I looked back and you were still chasing me. I turned around you. When you planted, you clipped me, making me stumble and not even be able to get it over here.
I think you just came into my space.
So this is a foul contest, or you can ask for my perspective.
I'm gonna contest. I think
Go.
Okay. I was a little bit distracted. I was moderating the chat. I kind of, when I first saw this, I was like, I kind of liked that they didn't go to the game advisor perspective, but obviously not if the USA player knows that that's a foul. That is like,
I don't know if he knows it's a foul.
No, I know.
I don't think he's a cheater. I don't think Tim's a cheater at all. I think he can get myopic, like we all can, in those scenarios.
Myopic. Does that mean you kind of see what you want to see because you're so invested?
Yeah, you're like nearsighted, right? It means like single visioned or single focused. Yeah. So I don't think I just don't think he knows.
No. Yeah.
He's got no awareness in that situation.
No, I'm definitely not suggesting he's a cheater. It just popped into my mind as a possibility. It's a weird play. Okay, we're getting near the end of the first half, right?
Yeah, we fortunately got some control back of this game from that rocky start.
Ooh,
we definitely made some line switching a little bit.
Nice throw and go technique. I think I see a lot more young players do throw and go technique which is very promising. I think a lot of old players are kind of stuck in their ways, you know, whereas young players will be like, oh, what is this concept of dribbling? Whereas older players are like, they just associate dribbling with Frank, and then it's immediately like, that guy's a dick, dribbling's a jerk move, or like, doesn't exist. But I think younger players are like, huh, dribbling, you mean moving the disc really quick? That's quite good fun. That's a really nice throw. John Angelo's team has several throw and go drills. Yeah, so do mine. We do throw and go drill beginning of every training. I actually made a video of it and talked a bit about throw and go technique, which is on the Patreon thing. There's videos that you can, like extra content videos. But I think throw and go is really, really valuable. You know, like in this situation, it's because the force is slightly far away. Yeah, that the throw and go actually means that then he can kind of use that separation, expand on that separation.
Mm-hmm. For sure. What role is Cole Kiefer? I think you're gonna enjoy this one. So I viewed him. I thought he was more of a cutter based on his stats until I kind of watched the game and I saw that they were using him as like the third handler, so to speak. So he was mobile reset, and a mobile reset like is a quick handler who can beat you up line. He's definitely quick. And then I also had him as a thick reset. And that's not thick with 2 C's. So the thick reset is a physical handler who can use their size or strength to muscle their way to resets. Sorry for the assumed maleness in my description, but this was to a men's team, so I just copied and pasted from what I told them.
USA with a side stack with one active cutter. Active cutter has a ton of space. Gets 3. Give and go, give and go, give and go. Now you're basically playing 3-on-3 now, in like all this space here.
Yeah, this is like the North Carolina guys wanted to institute a weave, and we didn't have enough time as a team to do it, but we felt really comfortable with letting, you know, since they had a lot of time playing together and obviously a system and a plan, we felt that it was a good idea to mix it up from time to time. Especially, I think this is the swing line again, or no, sorry, this is our kill line again. So with low repage on like plays and flow, we felt it may be better to kind of like take the pre-built chemistries that were available to us and just kind of roll with that. So
yeah,
they got us halfway up the field, and then we got it into the end zone system that we all know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could break down this. I think there's almost too many passes. It's funny to hear me say that kind of stuff, but like there's a lot of movement and a lot of small passes for not much being kind of built. Something I'd say initially is when you have 4 players over here on the sideline, like logically, guarding against. So yeah, let's have the just moved the entire thing. Let's have the offense in green and defense red. But so logically, it doesn't make sense to like 1-to-1 here, because 1-to-1 is you give control over what your defensive positioning to the offense. And so that's why then the offense has evolved to then move to the sideline, because they want 4 defenders on the sideline. But when you have 4 tightly packed like this, the natural counter for that is for defenders to actually spread, right? So then you can have 3 defenders like that around those 4, okay? And the reason why that is, you know, not just the natural counter, but also like what kind of like what makes a lot of sense to do is because you have all this space over here, right? And that's you kind of got to try and reduce that space as defender. So the reason you have that space is because the offense are all clustered up here, and so the way that you can then counter that offense is use less defenders to surround that side stack, have an extra defender in this space, making it harder for the offense.
I 100% agree, Felix. I mean, like, the side stack as a formation, you know, against a team that likes to play more help defense or what have you, is challenging, right? Because you have so many people who can be guarded by so few, and they're in such dead space. It works if you got great isolation cutters, and it works if the opponent doesn't really play, if they just play like person-on-person defense. So in scouting Canada, we saw that they were a team that was more, that favored person-to-person defense. They didn't do a whole lot of helping. So we knew we could get away with a side stack.
Ezra asked if that would be the flex move for a side stack. So it's kind of like an advanced flex move because it adds a poach in as well. Flex would basically say there's 4 offense and 4 defense on the side, so you surround them 4 versus 4. But then once you're able to do that, surrounded with 4, and you get good enough at that, then you can actually be like, right, let's surround them with 3 now, because these defenders are so efficient, we can actually do it with 3. And then that's when you can afford to have that extra defender poaching, essentially, and going off and causing trouble in the rest of the space.
100%. And most of my teams play defense that way, for sure. Especially in 2019 and on. 2018, not so much, but 2019 and on, for sure.
I wanted something to happen here. Like the fact that the defender is double covered over there feels like there should be something. There should be something to get advantage, to gain advantage. And perhaps it's any of these players cut into this space over here. And maybe this is...
Somebody's going to check down, I would imagine.
Sorry?
I said somebody's going to, I think, fill that space in a second for sure. It's ironic. It's the person with the disc that usually would do that for us. Darryl is like the absolute best at working off of the rails, I think, in all of American Ultimate. It's unbelievable how good he is at that, and how well timed he is. And he just creates spacing. Like, I didn't realize how great he was until I would watch the film back of him playing and focus on him. And you just realize how many times he makes these selfless cuts or sees this exact opportunity and would just be filling that space immediately. So
yeah, I think there is opportunity here to do that.
With him not being there, I think that's why it's not getting filled.
And he knows to look for it as well. Like, that's why he's looking in this direction. He's like,
exactly.
Where's it coming from? Where is it?
Why is nobody available to do that? Oh, right, because I have the frisbee.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where, like, this is a move from the defense, which yes, it gives them advantage in this area because you had a good kind of upline move or whatever, so they've quelled that. But then there's a counter to that. There's always natural counters to things. So the natural counter is, using the space and not just using the space. Like, it's fortunate that we got these players that are free, but actually using that separation. Yeah. So then if you throw and go and maintain this separation, then the defense is then on the back foot, and if you can keep them there through flow, then you can lead to a score.
That's actually one of the things that I was trying to experiment with Christian Boxley on Truck Stop with. Like, I think he would be one of the greatest dribblers in our sport. We definitely made strides last season to kind of work on that with him. I think that's why I was saying I think it'll continue. And his role as red zone finisher, I think, is not outdated. That's the wrong word. I think that was his first form. And I think he's going to master a dribble as a second form.
Rue is having a dream, by the way. I can feel her twitching a little bit. So if you watch Christian,
as long as she doesn't start running in her dream and clawing you.
Yeah, or just bites my arm out of the blue. Okay, here we go. I don't like this movement here. If anyone's new to the stream, I'm super critical. Like, I don't hold back. So if I see something I don't like, I'm not like, oh yeah, it's a good idea. So this movement here, as he goes in this direction, is surrounding the disc, which leads to bad times. All right, so the thrower is kind of like looking in this direction, maybe, yeah, and potentially if this player runs this way, then the thrower is maybe looking in like this direction, right? But by running into this space over here, then you're surrounding the thrower, which means you're on their blind side. The defender's coming out of their blind side, and they can't, like, if they had both players, both of the close options in their field of view, then it's a lot easier to generate something. And further to that, if this player actually got the disc over here, then the other player who was the other part of the surround would be disconnected from them, right? So you'd only have then the one option going straight back here. There's not really an option over here because everyone's so far away, and then the other player would be slightly further away. I know the whole idea of being connected and stuff touches on other stuff that I don't have, that it's not really appropriate to delve into right now. But it's related to having quick options close to the disc to maintain flow, and it's just a different system.
I actually think that he just got. If I had to bet, I think that Elijah Long, the player who you're talking about coming back, I think he felt himself out of position, and I think he wanted to free up the space upfield, and so he made that move, which isn't advantageous at all, except to make space. So I think he was trying to do that while he saw that he wasn't being paid attention to. He just wanted to vacate that so Eric Taylor, the guy with the frisbee, could go up line.
Right.
If need be. That's my guess. I think he was just out of position. It was definitely not systemic.
Okay. I mean, it is part of the system to surround the disc as well. You saw him there, standing in the dump position, which is technically surrounding.
This is all just Elijah. he positions like Elijah. That's where he likes to be. I don't think the system meant for him to be that close, but he has certain he's another jump cutter to get open, and he gets a lot of good separation when he gets himself set up super close. So I think that's just his style. I don't think there's any. He's off script.
Yeah,
he's his own script.
I like off script. I like playing by feel, like intuitive, but then training in a way that you learn what the most effective way is. You learn how to be intuitive in an effective way, and depending on the system that you train, if it's a disciplined, regimented system, then you don't learn in such an organic, dynamic way, and so therefore you don't kind of develop that natural instinct. I'll rework up from a dream. Have a good dream. Okay, let's get back to Felix Camp. Is that about right? And then like this. Okay, there we go. I really like this just the way it's very almost a miscommunication, because the cutter almost starts to cut. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to fake him out, and then it's like, oh no, and the disc's in the air.
Yeah, the counter is one of my favorites too. Two people working on offense together like that versus two people on defense with space like that, it's nearly impossible.
Cool. I'm going to put a link to the Discord in the chat. Now the Discord is tiered. Okay, so as you can join it if you're not a patron, but most of the Discord and being able to talk on it are limited to patrons only. So patronage is just $1 a month. So I know most of it is just the hassle of actually going through the sign up process, and that isn't really a hassle. It's pretty quick, and you can link it to Google. Just click, PayPal or whatever. So don't worry about that hassle. And I'll put the Discord link in here. If you message Dorates on there with links that you want to be put into the chat, then that can happen. And we'll go and hang out there after we finish with this. Is that half time now? Is that 7 half time? Or is it till 8?
Wow. I'm embarrassed, I don't know. I think it goes to 8, if I recall.
Yeah, Brian says sign up for our 10-part series for the second half of Revolver Bravo. It took us, we were like, oh yeah, we'll do it in 2 parts. First half and then second half. And then we were like a quarter of the way through the first half, and we've been doing it for 2 hours. Okay. So we've done 2 sessions on it, 4 hours, and we're at half time at the moment with Revolver Bravo.
Wow. Well, I feel good that within 2 hours we got through 1 hour of real game footage.
Yeah.
So when I saw click over to 2 hours too, I was like, "Whoa, has it been that long?"
Currently, the second part of the Revolver Bravo is patrons only. So it's content like this with Brian Jones, WUC, the World Club Championships semi-final, I think it is, 2014. Yeah, AJ's a root here patron. Oh no! What happened now? So AJ knows what he's saying, and it says it's full of content.
This set play, man. Oh man, I felt.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah.
I think he's throwing.
So watch Chance. He's the one. He's yes, exactly the defender right there. Like you see, he just prevents this guy from making his sweep cut across, because the set play that they ran like maybe 80 or 90% of the time was like they started up in a host stack, and both of the wings, the wing cutters would come across, and there would be an option to the thrower to hit either one, with the preference being Kinley G, 55, the guy who gets shut down by Chance there.
Right.
So, you know, Chance and I, we talk about this stuff all the time. You know, he's been coached by Darryl enough that he knows my Darryl speak, and I told him about this play, I think, and I wanted him matched up against Kinley because I thought he could win that matchup for sure. You know, we just knew that's that play. I mean, they ran it a lot, and so Chance just gets there first, prevents him from making the crossing ring.
Ezra Goldsmith, thank you for your pledge and your patronage.
But Chance is just a heady player too, so even if I didn't talk to him, he probably would have figured it out after the third time if I'm running the same play. He's really anticipatory.
Yeah, it was fantastic defense, that positioning, just to completely shut out the cut. We'll watch it just one more time, and then it's half time, right? It's got to be half at 8.
Yeah,
it can't be 9. Although the first game I ever played, we won 24-23.
What year was that?
2000.
Yeah, I feel like back then the games were 21 at some points.
Yeah, it went to overtime even though it's 21.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back in our day.
Let's give it a go form on
just like we surprised people that in 2004 there were no roster size limits for USA Club Ultimate. Fun fact: there's no roster size limit for college Ultimate still. So
this is good. This is good throw and go. Techers.
Oh, it's
right here.
Awesome. Do you know you're shouting out the same player again as a dribbler?
Oh,
it's all Yanuck again.
Yanuck,
correct.
He could score even. Yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Yanuck. He's still playing, right?
Oh God, yeah. He's in our chat. Yes,
Yanuck.
He's all the things.
do some. I mean, yeah, like read up about the if you haven't already, about dribbling, and I do some analysis of Tyler Kinley doing some dribbling moves and stuff. Yeah, it's powerful, but it's tricky when you're that player that does all the give goes and throwing goes and stuff. Like having that integrate well with the team can be more of a challenge than actually doing it. Like in the wrong team, then you can be seen as being selfish, or with certain teammates, you can be seen to be crowding them. And you're like, well, actually, you know, if he'd looked at me on stall 0, I wouldn't have been crowding, but then, you know, ended up inevitable. But it is a very powerful tool, and it's like made more and more powerful by the number of teammates that you can get on board with you. Yeah. Oh, there's Dom and Gigi. Tom's Australian cameraman came over. All right, cool. We are at half time. Is that the same dribbling that Frank Hugenhold espouses? Yes, yeah, yeah. Some people think that it's not dribbling because dribbling needs to have like 2 players. In other sports, it has 2 players to be involved in the dribble. Did you see that thing from was it Pat McAfee?
No.
He basically said that Ultimate looks weird because people catch the disc and then stop moving, and he kind of focused on the rule, but not 100%. He was just like, you know, that needs to be looked at because it's weird. And he watched the whole game, and I don't think he saw barely any give and go, and definitely no dribbling. I think dribbling isn't a bad term for it. The problems with it are obviously, you know, yes, you need 2 players to dribble at least in Ultimate, and you don't in other sports. But the kind of like the actual like effect that it has offensively when you compare it to other sports, it is like dribbling in other sports. yeah, I do kind of have a loose definition of dribbling, but Frank actually recently kind of admitted that that a lot of stuff we think is dribbling. It's just that he doesn't think it's very good dribbling, you know. So then he's got this word shredding, which is like good dribbling. But it's kind of like, yeah, that's the second problem with dribbling. Is one, it's like, yeah, you know, you have to have two players or more, and two, it's associated with Frank, which unfortunately has a negative impact on the impression of it. But you know, disassociated from that, it is incredibly valuable and fun and powerful move. But it's one that, yeah, like I said, when you have teammates that are on board with it, it kind of compounds the interest, and it's like it gets more and more powerful. But it is a harder skill to teach, and I say that having had many years of teaching players and teams to do it, and having various degrees of success with it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that's great work from Yanuck doing it in this game. Cool. Halftime. Darryl, can you summarize maybe the half?
Ooh. I mean, I think it was like we were really nervy to start. Like our O-line was just struggling with its last bit of like finishing, right? That final throw, the final catch. It was like they weren't off per se, but I think because we were so reliant on Mac and Tanner to be those players for us, like I'm not so sure that we had the best system of an offense for that O-line, so much as we were like, well, we had a plan for a system, and then it just became apparent that like it works when Mac hucks it, or you know, when Mac has the disc. And he was on fire all tournament. I think this is the only time where he wasn't quite as, you know, clinical / you know, maybe sometimes the receiver wasn't catching it. Who knows what the issues were? But I think that was kind of why we didn't get the separation that we got later on as readily. And so we made some adjustments, and you know, luckily we were able to get some of that separation. I think if Canada, we also, I think we're going to start to win the fatigue game, right? If you see the Canada's going blow for blow with us, but they didn't really sub as deep as we did, especially on that O-line. And so once we started getting, you know, cracks at their O-line, even though they broke ours several times, we could respond with a fresh line, you know, maybe a whole new line of players, or with a couple of key players subbed in. Some of these players like John Randolph or Saul, who, as you can see, are very capable offensive players. We could just slide them back over and have a whole new line with a whole new threat and a whole new plan, or Eric Taylor. So I think that's the other thing that started to show, was like they had to keep rolling back the same guys point after point. And, you know, I think that last break is a great testament to that. Like Kinley didn't have the same explosion. The decision-making wasn't as crisp by the thrower to see like, oh, he stopped his cut. I probably shouldn't throw this. You know, it was just some automatics that were assumed, and we took advantage of that. So I think that's kind of the tale of the half from my perspective when I was coaching it.
Cool. Okay. A couple of things before I sign off. First off, this is the upcoming schedule. If I just get this on the screen, no, that's not right. Like this, yes. We got Ravi next Wednesday for the mixed final of 2017. Big shout out to all these patrons. Almost too many to fit on the screen now. They're what make this possible. Thank you to everyone that's co-hosted with me and the donators. We'll add Ezra to this list as well. Darryl, thank you so much for joining for this stream. Have you got time to come to Discord now?
Yeah, I could do that for till 2:30 my time. So
okay,
definitely can do that for another 30 minutes.
So we're going to head to Discord. I don't know what we're going to do in Discord. We can just chat Frisbee, or we could try and encourage Brian Jones versus Darryl Stanley Rocket League 1v1 right now. Oh, the hype.
Oh, I would do it. I would do that.
Oh, there we go. The gauntlet's been laid down. See whether Brian's still watching. Or last week or Wednesday we just talked about stuff that's going on in America. So if that's something that you know people want to talk about, and that's what happens. Oh, Brian is still listening. Yeah. So there's many options. I sign off now. So tune in 1 week's time for the conclusion to this. This stream is going to go behind Patreon. Okay, so if you have teammates that missed it and want to see it, then you know, please encourage them to become patrons. Yes. So thank you very much, Darryl, for joining us. We're going to head to Discord now. Thanks everybody else for watching, and I'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Ooh, yeah. Yes, you're good. Yeah. Oh, yeah.